I certainly also want to recognize the Gold Star families, adding to the comments of my colleagues. We are grateful to you. Thank you, Secretary Blinken, for being here today. And thank you for your extensive cooperation with our committee's oversight of the United States withdrawal from Afghanistan. Over the past 3 years, your State Department provided thousands of pages of documents and facilitated countless interviews with many career and political officials. I understand this is one of many appearances that you've had on this topic before our committee, and I can relate. Despite only being in Congress for just over a year, this is my third hearing on Afghanistan in this committee. Unfortunately, for my friends on the other side of the aisle, the quantity of these hearings is not really correlated with the quality of them. Their so-called investigation selectively airbrushed the full picture of what happened in Afghanistan. Their report ignores any of the actions that Donald Trump took to negotiate the withdrawal. The report claims we abandoned our allies, but fails to mention how Trump folks left behind a backlog of more than 17,000 applications made by our Afghan allies for special immigrant visas. A backlog that forced President Biden's administration to speed up visa processing, bring in temporary help, and work around the clock to protect our allies during the withdrawal. Of all the errors in this flawed report, its worst sin is that it refuses to let facts get in the way of a good story. The report repeatedly claims the State Department waited too long to initiate the U.S. non-combatant evacuation operation. But the U.S. ambassador to Afghanistan at the time, Ross Wilson, has testified that initiating this evacuation operation too soon, quote, would have complicated our ability to get out. If we had left earlier, several thousand SIV applicants that we got out would not have been able to leave the country. We would have not been able to provide support to American citizens trying to get out. Our eyes and ears about what was happening around us would have been drastically degraded, unquote. Secretary Blinken, do you agree that Ambassador Wilson's testimony reflects the conditions on the ground at the time and after you initiated the non-combatant evacuation operation? Were there any additional steps that you personally took to ensure that our personnel and allies had the help and resources they needed?
Yes, thank you. I agree with Ambassador Wilson's assessment. And once the evacuation was underway, the NEO was underway, we surged resources to the embassy, including dozens of consular officers, to make sure that we could process anyone getting to and into the airport, American citizens and others eligible to come to the United States. And I have to tell you, Congressman, I have immense pride in the people of my department. I had hundreds raise their hand and volunteer, including dozens who ran into the burning building of HKIA Airport during the evacuation to look out for their fellow citizens, to look out for our Afghan partners, and to do everything possible to bring them out of harm's way.
Yeah. Well, Secretary, I'm grateful for your leadership, and I frankly just wanted to give you an opportunity to correct the record on any claims that we've heard today, and really just communicate some lasting thoughts about this as you depart the State Department.
Look, all I can say is we don't have time to go through everything. I think we've addressed a number of these questions throughout this hearing, and I'm always happy to pursue these conversations. I just hope that somehow we can find ways to work effectively together to shed more light than heat on these very difficult issues. I think that's the spirit in which we should approach things. And for my part, I've been determined to learn the lessons from this experience, not only to learn them, but to act on them. And we've made the State Department stronger and better able to respond to crises than it was when we found it or it was during the Afghan evacuation. And I think that spirit is the one that I would hope would apply to everything we do. I've worked so well with so many members of this committee on both sides of the aisle. I hope that that continues even in places where we have deep disagreements. We can question each other's judgments. That's totally appropriate. I hope that we can get out of the business of questioning each other's motives.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and with that, I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. I recognize Mr. Lawler from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, have you read this report in full?
I have read the executive summary of the report. I haven't read the entire report yet.
Okay.
I've read the executive summary.
I hope that you will take this copy with you on your flight to the Middle East and read it, because this is your legacy.